Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the ceremony is about to begin. Please rise to welcome the ceremonial procession.
Please be seated.
Madam Cakewalk, Chair of the Yale-NUS College Governing Board.
President Pericles Lewis, Yale-NUS College.
Ambassador Chan Heng-chi, Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
President Tan Cho Chuan, National University of Singapore.
Student senior leadership members.
Student government representatives.
Distinguished guests.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome to the First Year Assembly 2015. I'm Faraz Khan of the class of 2018.
And I am Jelaine Beren, also from the class of 2018, and we will be your hosts for this afternoon's proceedings.
Today, we welcome more than 190 incoming first-year students who will call Yale-NUS College their home. Each of you will be a member of one of our 3 residential colleges, Saga, Elm, or Chandana, and we're sure you have a great many ideas to put forward during your time here.
This new class comes from 26 countries, including for the first time, El Salvador, Jamaica, and Tunisia. Needless to say, the rest of us sophomores and juniors are all very excited to welcome you into our community. We can't wait to get to know you as you become a part of the college that we already call home. Let's have a big round of applause for the class of 2019.
We are also very grateful to all our guests who have made the time to welcome our new class today. Our governing board members, senior leadership, faculty, and staff.
The class of 2019 wouldn't be here if not for the tireless efforts of our admissions and financial aid team, who have read literally thousands of applications and spent hours interviewing applicants to pick out the wonderful, talented, and diverse individuals you see here today. A round of applause for them, please.
Please join us in welcoming our Executive Vice President of Academic Affairs, Professor Tan Tai Yong, to give the opening remarks. Professor Tan, please.
Governing Board Chairperson, Madam Kay Kwok, NUS President, Professor Tan Cho Chuan, Governing Board members, Yale-NUS colleagues, students, friends. Welcome, class of 2019. This is a historic moment. our very first assembly in our brand new campus. And congratulations for having made it to Yale-NUS. This is a class of incredible talents and achievements. Amongst you are top students, elite sportsmen and women, published poets and novelists, accomplished musicians and artists, and dedicated and influential community leaders. You will be part of a learning community that is dedicated to your overall growth as an educated and engaged young man and woman. We have put in place excellent conditions for you to excel here. A first-rate faculty, highly capable professional staff, and state-of-the-art facilities and infrastructure. From your matriculation to graduation, from your college rooms to your classrooms, from the dining halls to the sports hall, everything has been put in place to ensure that you have the wherewithal to have a fulfilling and productive experience. With so many things already in place to support your endeavors, it is easy, even tempting, to sit back and just enjoy the experience and let the college take over. But I will advise you against taking such a passive approach. What you will get out of your college experience will depend on what you are prepared to put in during your time here. I urge you to take personal responsibility for your learning experience here. Take initiatives, challenge yourself to do new things, ask questions, push boundaries, but do so honestly, responsibly, and respectfully. Build friendships, establish networks, and make a difference. How can you make a difference? We are a small, intimate, new, and growing community. Every action, small or large, has a ripple effect. There will be moments where you'll be called to lead, whether you intend to or not. This is both an opportunity to shape the kind of legacy and future you want, as well as a great responsibility to build a community that cares for one another and those beyond it. You will have plenty of opportunities to do this within your residential colleges, or you could join an organization like Campus, which is dedicated to connecting the college to our larger community. In this case, the workers who have helped build our college. In the last 2 years, Campus has organized activities to show gratitude to the workers who have been involved in the construction of our college. Involvement in such activities will help hold us accountable in different ways. Even as we focus on forging our own community and identity, we must also build bridges beyond our campus and extend the boundaries of our interests and empathy, or we risk being an ivory tower. One of the most important aspirations I have of an education like the one you will receive here is the opportunity to align your greatest gifts with society's greatest needs. Spend some time discovering what you're called to do and pursue it well and passionately. In this regard, I would like to mention our leadership and citizenship program that aims to do just that, to connect our students to opportunities to serve the community, whether as volunteers, interns, or student groups. Our Center for International and Professional Experience offers an entire range of opportunities in internships, leadership programs, and social engagements in the academic, public, corporate, and non-profit sectors. I hope you will avail yourself to these many opportunities. Over the next 4 years, you will venture into many experiences outside Singapore, outside your culture, outside your comfort zone, and hopefully return as more thoughtful, culturally aware global citizens. The opportunity to travel and live and learn in different places is a real privilege with real rewards. Yet the reality is that not everyone can access or afford such opportunities, and that you don't have to go far or go anywhere physically to be good global citizens. There are multiple opportunities to serve here, as many of our students are already doing. We have a student group who call themselves Kids Accomplish, that offers a volunteer program for upper primary school students aimed at raising self, social, and international awareness amongst young children. I want you all to imagine a college whose purpose, among others, is to prepare students for active roles in civic life, whose curricula and courses challenge students' imaginations and develop their civic competencies, whose co-curricular activities offer multiple opportunities for students to engage in public work. This is our grand aspiration. The privileges you will enjoy over the next 4 years and the doors that your education will open to you make this aspiration all the more important. I think Bill Gates' comments at the commencement speech he made at Harvard a few years ago are worth quoting in some form. I quote, "I left Harvard with no real awareness of the awful inequities in the world, the appalling disparities of health and wealth and opportunity that condemned millions of people to lives of despair. I learned a lot here at Harvard about new ideas in economics and politics. I got great exposure to the advances being made in the sciences, but humanity's greatest advances are not in its discoveries, but in how those discoveries are applied to reduce inequity. Whether through democracy, strong public education, quality healthcare, or broad economic opportunity, reducing inequity is the highest human achievement." Unquote. Closer to home and in a pithier manner, independent Singapore's first president, Encik Yusof Ishak, reminded the University of Singapore at his installation as Chancellor in November 1965, the year Singapore became an independent country. He said, "Our university must be constantly alive to the needs of our society if it is to fulfill its role." Unquote. As you embark on this part of your journey with us, I hope you will find your next 4 years at Yale-NUS happy, enriching, and fulfilling ones. At the same time, and I know this is early days, think of the legacy that you will create in a college and beyond with your thoughts and action. Go for it. Once again, welcome to Yale-NUS.
Thank you, Professor Tan, for the warm words. Although Yale-NUS College has had only 3 intakes to date, we already have over 30 student organizations that span a wide range of interests. I myself am on the executive board for the Fifth Wall, a theater club, YAPAC, the Yale-NUS Association for the Protection of Animals from Cruelty, and I'm very active in YERPA, the Yale-NUS International Relations and Political Association.
Absolutely. Even after a year, I'm still blown away by how diverse and vibrant student groups at Yale-NUS are, and what they've accomplished in 2 short years. Student organizations are the engine that drives much of campus life at Yale-NUS.
Whether it's students racing across campus in epic laser tag battles organized by RC Cubed,
Or jet-setting across the globe for Model UNs with YERPA.
one thing is a given. There's always something to do on campus, and chances are it's student-initiated.
Speaking of students with initiative, our first performance for today is a musical piece by sophomore Abhinav Natarajan. Abhinav is a classical Indian singer, and he's honed his talent today into a beautiful art form. Please welcome Abhinav to the stage.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to be performing a Carnatic music piece. Carnatic music is one of 2 classical music traditions from India, the other one being Hindustani music, and I hope you enjoy this. குறையொன்றுமில்லை மறைமூர்த்தி கண்ணா குறையொன்றுமில்லை கண்ணா குறையொன்றுமில்லை கோவிந்தா கண்ணுக்கு தெரியாமல் நிற்கின்றாய் கண்ணா கண்ணுக்கு தெரியாமல் நின்ற என்றாலும் எனக்கு குறையொன்றும் இல்லை மறைமூர்த்தி கண்ணா வேண்டியதை தந்திட வெங்கடேசன் என்றிருக்கு வேண்டியதை வேறில்லை மறைமூர்த்தி கண்ணா மணிவண்ணா மலையப்பா கோவிந்தா கோவிந்தா திரையின் பின் இருக்கின்றாய் கண்ணா திரையின் பின் இருக்கின்றாய் கண்ணா கண்ணா திரையின் பின் இருக்கின்றாய் கண்ணா உன்னை மறையோதும் ஞானியர் மற்றுமே காண்பார் திரையின் பின் இருக்கின்றாய் கண்ணா உன்னை மறையோதும் ஞானியர் மற்றுமே காண்பார் திரையின் பின் இருக்கின்றாய் கண்ணா உன்னை மறையோதும் ஞானியர் மற்றுமே காண்பார் என்றாலும் குறையொன்றும் எனக்கில்லை கண்ணா என்றாலும் குறையொன்றும் எனக்கில்லை கண்ணா குன்றின் மேற்கல்லாகி நிற்கின்றாய் வரதா குன்றின் மேற்கல்லாகி நிற்கின்றாய் வரதா குறையொன்றும் இல்லை மறைமூர்த்தி கண்ணா குறையொன்றும் இல்லை மறைமூர்த்தி கண்ணா மணிவண்ணா மலையப்பா கோவிந்தா கோவிந்தா கலினாலிக்கிறங்கி கலிலே இறங்கி நிலையாக கோயிலில் நிற்கின்றாய் கேசவா கலினாலிக்கிறங்கி கலிலே இறங்கி நிலையாக கோயிலில் நிற்கின்றாய் கேசவா குறை ஒன்றும் இல்லை மறைமூர்த்தி கண்ணா யாதும் மறைக்காத மலையப்பா யாதும் மறைக்காத மலையப்பா உன் மார்பில் ஏதும் தர நிற்கும் கருணை கடல் அன்னை என்றும் இருந்திட எது குல எனக்கு என்றும் இருந்திட எது குல எனக்கு ஒன்றும் குறையில்லை மறைமூர்த்தி கண்ணா ஒன்றும் குறையில்லை மறைமூர்த்தி கண்ணா மணிவண்ணா மலையப்பா கோவிந்தா 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 கோவிந்தா. Thank you.
Thank you, Abhinav, for that beautiful performance. Our Yale-NUS community is filled with amazing people, from our peers to professors, and especially our founding president. Hailing originally from my home country of Canada, President Lewis used to be professor of English and comparative literature at Yale University before he took up office at Yale-NUS. Please welcome President Lewis.
Thank you, Julie. Governing Board Chairperson Madam Kay Kwok, National University of Singapore President Tan Chor Chuan, Ambassador Chan Hing Chi, Yale-NUS colleagues, students of the class of 2019, parents and friends. Welcome to Yale-NUS College and to our new campus. We're delighted to have you here with us. As you begin your studies, I hope you'll ask yourself some questions about what you plan to achieve and how you wish to develop over the next 4 years. I'm sure that you want to learn to express yourselves in many different ways and on many different levels. You'll want to take certain courses, including our common curriculum. You'll select a major. You'll engage in extracurricular activities such as those that Feroz and Jelaine have described, make friends from all over the world, prepare for life after college, perhaps travel, or study abroad. But what deeper purpose underlies all of these valuable experiences? I'm a professor of literature, and sophomores and juniors will tell you that usually I include in each of my speeches a poem. I'm going to do something different today and quote a couple of philosophers. So, in your course on philosophy and political thought this semester, you'll read the works of many philosophers, including two, Aristotle and Confucius, who both raise essential questions about the character of the human mind and development that is the purpose of college. Followers of Confucius who lived in the 6th and 5th centuries BCE in China collected many of his views and observations in a book called Yale-NUS, or Conversations, which is known to us by the Greek name Analects. In the first lines of the Analects, Confucius says, "Is it not a pleasure to learn, and, when it is timely, to practice what you have learned? Is it not a joy to have friends coming from afar? Is it not gentlemanly not to become resentful if no one takes notice of your learning?" So I think that we can all agree at the beginning of your college career that learning should be a pleasure, that putting your learning into practice can be fun, and as we welcome students from over 25 countries, that it is a joy to have friends coming from afar. In a few moments, I'd like to come back to the question of gentlemanly conduct that Confucius mentions in the third sentence of the Analects that I just quoted. But let me just say for now that the kind of education that we practice at Yale-NUS is very much based on conversations. Conversations between the past and the present, conversations among cultures, of course, conversations between students and faculty in the classroom, but also the broader conversations that go on outside the classroom among all the members of the college community. In the 4th century BCE, at the other end of the Eurasian landmass, another philosopher made some observations similar to those of Confucius. Aristotle begins his metaphysics with the observation that all men desire to know. An indication of this is the delight we take in our senses, for even apart from their usefulness, they are loved for themselves. So, as with Confucius, the emphasis is on the importance of understanding the world around us, although Aristotle begins with our perception of the world, whereas Confucius begins with this question of conversation and learning. Both of these philosophers emphasize not only the attainment of knowledge, but also putting that knowledge to good use. Confucius speaks of ren, or humaneness, which we might also translate as benevolence, and which Confucius tends to connect to self-restraint and avoiding harm to others. In a more positive sense, scholars have interpreted ren as internal beauty of character. In contrast to Confucius, Aristotle places the highest value on intellectual virtue and the contemplative life. But he distinguishes intellectual virtue, which can be taught, from moral virtue, which he says comes about as a result of habit. And he points out that the word for morals in Greek, ethics, comes from the word for custom or habit, ethos, which can also be translated as character. So both men are concerned with the nature of character and with how we improve and attain a better character. Aristotle places somewhat more emphasis on the intellectual virtues, and Aristotle in particular mentions habit as forming of character. Now, many educators today have discussed the role of schools, whether elementary or secondary schools or colleges or universities, in forming students' characters. Aristotle's distinction between intellectual and moral virtue is relevant to us here at Yale-NUS. In the classroom and in your reading and your written assignments, we are cultivating intellectual virtues: inquisitiveness, rationality, the use of evidence, perceptiveness, honesty. But these intellectual virtues do not exist on their own. In fact, Aristotle makes it clear that for the intellectual virtues to flourish, they must be undergirded by the moral virtues. And his list of moral virtues was the following: courage, temperance, liberality, magnanimity, good temper, truthfulness, ready wit, friendliness, and modesty. Now, today we might come up with a different list of virtues that would include, for example, integrity, sympathy, or industriousness. But the question for us as educators is how to inculcate the habits of these good virtues. We cannot just assign you readings or set exercises or problem sets to teach you how to be friendly and courageous. Instead, the hope of Yale-NUS and of residential liberal arts education in general is that by living and working together and by venturing out of the classroom in our co-curricular and experiential learning programs, you will yourselves make the connections between your studies and the kind of person you want to become. The complexity of character education today lies in the fact that we may not all agree on what constitutes a virtuous character. So to take an accepted norm, such as industriousness, I'm sure that we can all agree that students should work hard, and that by the university level, they've also earned a certain amount of autonomy. So the college does not establish particular hours at which students must study. At Yale in the 19th century, there were hours not only for studying, but also the hours for prayer. We don't do that here. It is up to you to get your work done and to determine for yourselves the right balance among various activities. Of course, our Dean's Fellows and our residential staff will help you to try and achieve some of that equilibrium. But the question of character education is even more complicated when you get to virtues on which we may not all agree. So take, for example, the virtue of temperance. Probably we all agree that drunken rowdiness should be discouraged, and in fact, the school regulations do discourage drunken rowdiness. But we may disagree on whether a few drinks are acceptable or whether it's better not to drink alcohol at all. Or to take a more controversial example, chastity. I can advise you that you should respect your bodies and those of others, but if I were to try to prescribe in detail what kinds of sexual activity are permissible between consenting young adults, you would perhaps rightly ask what business it is of mine. So if we look at the virtues praised by Aristotle or the gentlemanly conduct encouraged by Confucius, we may wonder whether their definition of character is the same one that is relevant to us, and more particularly whether the prejudices of their own times may have determined what they thought was a good character. In particular, the virtues that they praised tended to be those associated with gentlemen, that is to say, well-born or aristocratic men. But both Aristotle and Confucius had a democratic element in their philosophies in that they believed that these gentlemanly virtues could be attained by any free citizen. And of course, we could add today that they can be attained by women too. In fact, one of the notable features of the word virtue is that it's gone from, which is a Roman word originally, that it's gone from being associated mainly with men in Roman times to being associated more closely with women in modern times, but I would encourage our men as well as our women to be virtuous. More importantly, the values that we designate by character are clearly not the monopoly of any class or race or sex, and yet different cultures and different people within any given culture may view them differently. So I invite you, therefore, not just to develop the habits that Aristotle or Confucius or current-day educational theorists may think are most important, but to question your own assumptions and prejudices, and to decide what sort of character you want to develop. We can then all work together as part of a supportive community to try to help each other learn the habits of character that we agree to admire. Although again, we can also disagree about some of these and still build our community together. And this brings us to the role of the college as a community and as a place to train young people for citizenship, for service, for life beyond college. The second president of the United States, John Adams, was perhaps not the most democratic of the founding fathers, but he had a particular view of the role of liberal arts colleges in developing citizens for the new republic. I'm afraid Harvard is doing terribly well at this event because both Bill Gates and John Adams went to Harvard. During the debates about the US Constitution in the 1780s, Adams wrote that by gentlemen are not meant the rich or the poor, the high-born or the low-born, the industrious or the idle, but all those who have received a liberal education, an ordinary degree of erudition in liberal arts and sciences, whether by birth they be descended from magistrates and officers of government, or from husbandmen, merchants, mechanics, or laborers, or whether they be rich or poor. In other words, like Aristotle and Confucius, Adams thought that there were certain virtues associated with being a gentleman regardless of a person's social background. And he thought that an education in liberal arts and sciences was the prerequisite for being a gentleman in this sense. At least since the time of John Adams, one of the goals of liberal education has been cultivating character and citizenship. My hope is that liberal arts education continues to do that. I wouldn't claim that you have to have a liberal arts education to be a good citizen, but I hope that at least it helps. So as we celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Republic of Singapore, here in Singapore's first liberal arts college, we're proud to be trailblazers in the local and even the international educational landscape. I hope that the education we provide at Yale-NUS will help you to develop both the intellectual and the moral virtues to contribute actively to civic life within your immediate community and beyond. I trust that you will examine your own assumptions about the good life and the best way to live it. I know that you will work together to cultivate a broad ethos of service, as Professor Tan has described. The Greeks also said that character is destiny, and I believe that you will collectively take this opportunity to shape and improve your own characters and thereby to shape your destinies. Thank you.
Thank you, President Lewis.
One thing that I really treasure at Yale-NUS is the close friendships I've formed ever since starting college.
Between my suite mates and my classmates, I formed lifelong friendships bonded by common interests
Some productive, some not so productive.
and strengthened by lively discussions on anything from a Hobbesian analysis of the Singaporean government.
To the incredible new Star Wars trailer.
In a school with this much talent, though, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention one of the coolest things friends do when they meet here: make music. So up next, we have three sophomores who'll be performing 2 songs for us.
Aishani Sen, Aida Rong, and Jane Zhang discovered their shared love of music at Yale-NUS and now spend some of their free time making music together. Please welcome on stage Aishani, Darong, and Jane.
I think I've had enough. Might get a little drunk. I say what's on my mind. Might do a little time. All of my kindness is taken for weakness. Now I'm 4-5 seconds from wildin'. We got 3 more days till Friday. I'm just trying to make it back home by Monday morning. I swear I wish somebody would tell me, ooh, that's all I want. Woke up an optimist, sun was shining and positive. Then I heard you was talking trash. Hold me back, I'm about to smash. Yeah, 4-5 seconds from wildin', and we got 3 more days till Friday. I'm just trying to make it back home by Monday morning. I swear I wish somebody would tell me, ooh, that's all I want. And I know that you're up tonight, thinking, how could I be so reckless? But you've come about 1,000 times, wondering where I've been. And I know that you're up tonight, thinking, how could I be so reckless? But I just can't apologize. I hope you can understand. I go to jail tonight. Promise you'll pay my bail. They wonder about my pride, but that just ain't enough for sale. 'Cause all of my kindness, oh, is taken for weakness. I'm 4-5 seconds from wildin', and we got 3 more days till Friday. I'm just trying to make it back home by Monday morning. I swear I wish somebody would tell me, ooh, that's all I want. 4-5 seconds from wildin', and we got 3 more days till Friday. I'm just trying to make it back home by Monday. Thank you so much. We hope you enjoyed that one. I'm Aishani, this is Jane, and this is Jarong. He's doing a fantastic job on the guitar and the piano, so just a round of applause for him, please. The next song that we're gonna do is something that the Singaporeans will probably be very familiar with, and the international students will eventually grow to know, so we thought we would do the song today. It's called Home. We thought it would be appropriate because SG 50, and it's a very special year because all of you are coming into this great school, so we just thought it would be a good idea.
Yeah, it's Home has been one of the my favorite songs that I've learned since I've gotten to Singapore. So I know that even for the international students, you guys will go to love it. It's a beautiful song, and I think it's very relevant because not only has Singapore become a home for me, but especially Yale-NUS will become a home for all of you, just like it has been for me. So I hope you guys enjoy this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aishani, Jarong, and Jane. Our next speaker is here to extend a warm welcome to our new first years. He is known among the student body as a highly intelligent, well-spoken, caring, and hilarious person.
Hailing from the US, Jonathan Gazit reports for the Octant. That's right. He reports for the Octant, a student-run publication in the college, and he also helps to organize fun events for the 3 residential colleges with RC Cubed. He's also one of my closest personal friends and my suite mate, so please welcome Jonathan Gazit to the stage.
Thank you, Faraz and Jelaine, for that. Okay. Yale-NUS College currently has a 0% employment rate among graduates. This is actually my favorite statistic about the school. It rests on the technicality that we have no graduates, but for now it holds true. And I like this statistic in particular because it illustrates how unique our experience is here and how exciting I find our time here. Yale-NUS is a brand new college. So new, in fact, that it has yet to graduate a single student. And you are all now joining this incredibly young and malleable community. There are few other places where one student's actions or efforts could have such large ripple effects for years or even decades to come. Events that didn't exist a year ago are now tentatively being called traditions. I myself spent many a late night last year helping start up the Octant, the student-run newspaper, in the hopes of turning a fledgling club into an organization that I could pass down to future classes. Students, just like you, have driven this school from an idea to the vibrant community we have today in only 2 years. And with the talent sitting in this room, the college's potential only rises higher. I'm sure that any one of you here can help bring something to the school that students 5 or 10 years from now will consider inseparable from what Yale-NUS is. Yet all this opportunity does come at a cost. We are simultaneously building a college while we're attending it. This means that problems are bound to arise, which are no one's fault, but simply a product of our school being so new. I've encountered issues ranging from having no toilet paper in my suite when I first moved in, to there are some kinks in my integrated science class that needed to be worked out. But I've come to realize that it was never a question of whether these problems would arise, but instead who would be there to solve them when they did. And like the opportunities I mentioned earlier, I think these problems are a chance for all of us, students, faculty, and staff, to leave an imprint on the school. My high school Latin teacher would always say, "Bring me solutions, not problems." And especially at Yale-NUS, I've taken that to heart. When integrated science had some teething issues, I collected feedback from the class, compiled it for the professors, and suggested a few changes. And that letter was just as meaningful to me as any of the work that I've done on the Octant. Students years from now may never know my name or what I did. But I believe that my actions help make their Yale-NUS experience, which is already pretty incredible, even better. And as troublesome as these problems might be, I think that they unintentionally add to our liberal arts education. No matter where we end up after graduation, we're most likely going to face problems there too. And so I think learning to simultaneously work within an institution while having to fix it fits perfectly into the goal of producing well-rounded young adults in the 21st century. Realize, though, that solving these problems does take plenty of hard work. Yet I have the utmost confidence that you are all sitting here today because you proved that you have what it takes to thrive in this community and to help this community thrive. I also think it's important to put these problems in perspective. When we get so caught up in what's wrong, it's easy to forget about everything that's right. Our new campus is just absolutely beautiful, and we have some of the most talented people I've met working practically around the clock to make our 4 years here as great as they can be. And most importantly, we have this incredibly talented community that I'm so endlessly grateful for finding. And so, as you stand on the cusp of what I promise will be 4 years to change your lives, be aware of what it means to join a college that's so young. I can't stress enough how immense your influence over the school can be. But there's also going to be some bumps down the road. And our community will ultimately be defined by how each and every one of you act in the face of these problems. I personally think it's a beautiful thing to matriculate to a school still in its infancy and to leave it 4 years later standing on firmer footing. And I hope you will all join me in trying to make this genuine, passionate, Slightly odd, but incredibly loving community, even better for the many classes to come. And so, on behalf of the Yale-NUS student body, it is my distinct pleasure to welcome to the family the class of 2019.
Thank you for coming to the First Year Assembly 2015. We hope that you have enjoyed the ceremony this afternoon.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, please rise and remain standing as the ceremonial procession takes its leave.